Fatherless children are dramatically at greater risk of drug and alcohol abuse, mental illness, suicide, poor educational performance, and teen pregnancy. 90% of all homeless and runaway children and 85% of all youths in prisons are from fatherless homes. Today's guest grew up without his father, yet he graduated from college, is a 25-year radio and television executive veteran, and still with his wife of 27 years. When we return, you'll meet Mr. Robert Moore. He'll share his experience while I share mine on being a single mom and raising a fatherless son. Stay tuned.
Dr. Tunishai Ford is an ordained minister, inspirational, highly motivational speaker, and acclaimed author of I Miss the Hugs, Not the Hurt, and This is a Comma in Your Life, Not a Period. To book Dr. Tunishai Ford to speak and motivate your staff, organization, or church, or to order her life-changing books today, I Miss the Hugs, Not the Hurt, and This is a Comma in Your Life, Not a Period, just visit drtford.com. That's drtford.com.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Welcome to the Dr. Tunishai Ford Show. My show today is just very heartfelt, and I have a very special guest in the studio today, Mr. Robert Moore. We're going to be talking about Where's My Dad from the mother and son's perspective. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Robert, I want to ask you this. This is very dear to my heart. I know it's very dear to yours. When did you grow up having your father in your home? And if you didn't, when did you start having your father be around you?
Well, no, I did not grow up with my father in my home. Okay. My earliest memory of my father is when I was 3 years old. About 3, maybe 4. I was very scared all of a sudden. My mother had been divorced for a few years. I'd never laid eyes on him. And then one late evening night, this man shows up, and my mother and I were living at my grandmother's house, and this man shows up on a motorcycle with braids in his hair. Now, mind you, this is the late 60s, and he was in a motorcycle repair jumpsuit and everything. And, living with my grandmother and family members, some of them were joking around saying, hey, your father's here, he's going to take you home with him. I was terrified. I literally hid in my grandmother's room and until they kind of said, hey, we're only kidding, and brought me out, and there I met my dad, and it was a kind of a little scary experience. But I really didn't know him growing up throughout my life. He had visited maybe just a few times throughout my life. Okay. That time when I was about 3 or 4, he showed up again when I was about 5th grade for a day, showed up again in probably 8th grade for a day. And interestingly enough, when I went to graduate from high school, I wanted my father to see my accomplishments. Even though he wasn't around, I was proud of myself, and I was working hard to make my mother proud as well.
Okay, but speaking of your mom, she didn't talk about your dad?
Well, one of the things that was good was my mother did talk about my dad, but she made it a point not to talk really in negative terms about my father. Okay. She did tell me that he had some issues. He had some substance abuse issues. Okay. He is an alcoholic, and so she had shared those things with me. But no, that's okay. And so now for you raising a son on your own,
yes.
How was that like for you?
Robert, I'm going to be very honest with you. My husband left our home when my son was only 2 years old, and the first 2 years of his life was great. He had his dad, but in my situation, it's a little different because my ex-husband is from another country, Nigeria. Okay. So when he left, he left.
Sort of like President Obama.
Right, he left. Okay, so you see now, your father was in the country, so he was just absent. But my ex-husband was gone. So it wasn't like he could pick up a phone and just call. But he did come back and forth from time to time. But the absence of my ex-husband really put a damper on a lot of things because I was very bitter. It was very difficult because I struggled financially, even though I had a degree. But I chose not to take certain jobs that would take me away from my son. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because people don't understand that. You make choices as a mother. You may say, well, you want to make good money. But a lot of times you have a job where you make good money, and it's going to take you traveling, or you're going to work long hours. So I took jobs that was probably beneath me, in terms of my degree, just so I could be home with my son.
Yes. And I too, talking about a little bit of the anger, I too was very angry.
Yes, I was going to ask you
growing
about
up as a child.
Yes.
It was a very lonely experience, Yes. One of the things here is I was surrounded by a loving family on my mother's side. So my father's side, I really didn't know them because they were out of state.
Yes.
But, that really helped. There was a loving side there. I had uncles that was very close to me that, really mentored and helped guide me. So, but I was a little angry, especially when those events, like when you would go to events where other sons would be with their fathers. Like I was on the safety patrol going to a Tiger game,
Yes.
And the dads would be there with their kids that were on the safety patrol. We got the tickets for being safety patrol.
Yes.
But I was standing around there and there was no dad. There was just kind of me by myself. And sometimes as a son, we feel like, what's wrong with me? What happened here? Why isn't dad coming around? Is there something that I'm not doing right?
Yes, yes. And if my son, my son's name is Bio, and one of the most memorable events is heartbreaking though, because I remember he was like 12 years old, and I was driving him somewhere. He was in the back seat, and I don't know, I was just so frustrated. Like you said, I was just so frustrated. And he looked at me and said, "Mommy," he said, "if I wasn't here, you wouldn't have to struggle so." And I pulled the car over, and I turned it back, and I said, "Son," I said, "it's because you're here that I go on." I said, "Don't you ever feel, that you're a burden on me, you know what I'm saying, and that if you weren't here, things would be better." I mean, did you ever feel like, did you ever tell your mom, "Hey, Mom, if I wasn't here, or did my dad leave because it was my fault," that type of thing? Did you feel like that as a son?
Well, yes. Yes, at times, I wondered, what kind of would my mom have a better life without me being here. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, the sadness, because fatherless sons have a very high rate of suicide.
I didn't know that.
And that's a national statistic. So they have a high rate of suicide. So yeah, there is that kind of sadness there that's involved from a son's perspective, wishing you want better for your mother. Now, as a son, what happened with me, interestingly enough, as I had some wonderful people around me on my mom's side of the family, but what happened was it clicked something in me, because seeing my mother struggle, my mother worked for Ford Motor Company. She was working on the line sewing. She sewed her fingers to the bones. She was up at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to raise her 3 children, and it was very, very hard on her, and I knew how hard she worked. She was exhausted.
Okay, well, I want you to hold that thought, because we're going to get ready to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back after our commercial break, and we're going to talk some more with Robert Moore.
You probably think you have to know somebody to hire a great law firm. Well, you do know somebody. You know me, Jeffrey Feiger. You know what I stand for. You know that I fight for my clients' rights. And you know that Feiger Law has 18 of the best trial lawyers in America. Insurance companies, corporations, and government are counting on you to hire a lawyer who will take any settlement they offer. But who will stand up for you when your life is on the line? We will.
Make tomorrow awesome with Xfinity TV from Comcast. Right now, you can get Xfinity TV for just $14.99 a month for 6 months with HD DVR service free for 3 months. Call 1-877-656-2548 today. Get the top networks and popular channels like AMC and Discovery in digital quality. Plus, never miss a thing with HD DVR service. Record your favorite shows and watch them on your schedule in stunning HD. Call 1-877-656-2548 and get Xfinity TV for just $14.99 a month for 6 months. Don't forget to ask how you can get Xfinity On Demand with the best in entertainment anytime on any device. Plus premium channels like HBO and Showtime. Get Xfinity TV for just $14.99 a month for 6 months with HD DVR service free for 3 months. Tomorrow could be awesome if you call today. Call 1-877-656-2548 and make the switch now. Xfinity, the future of awesome.
If you overcame great challenges in life or experienced a spiritual journey, email Dr. T Show at www.producer@drtford.com. To advertise, donate, or support this program, contact us at producer@drtford.com or mail checks and money orders payable to the Dr. Tunishai Ford Show, P.O. Box 2266, Southgate, Michigan, 48195. More information is available at drtford.com.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about life without dad. We're going from the mother's and son's perspective. Robert, before we left to go on commercial break, you were telling me how you felt about your mom, because you know that she struggled and she had a hard time with some things, but what did you do as a son to try to kind of make things a little easier for your mom?
Well, one of the things I did was that, and I believe your son probably did this as well, is that we looked at our mothers, and I looked at my mom and looked at what the sacrifices she made. And she worked from dusk till dawn. I mean, it's just nonstop she was going. So what I did was I did my best to make a commitment to try to do great things for her, to make her proud that she made that commitment as a mother to take care of me. Because some moms, it's not that it's wrong, some give their children up to adoption because maybe they can't care for them, but my mom chose to keep me and keep my sister and my younger brother, who's 7 years younger than me. And so I really made it a point to try to do that.
Were you an adolescent when you did that, though? Or were you still... Were you an adolescent?
Yeah, I was in my teenage years when I kind of really started realizing this. In those moments where, I don't know if you had these moments, you may have in private, where sometimes, my mother would be in tears. She'd be upset about some things, and just sitting there and talking with her about it, because she didn't have a spouse to talk to.
Right.
And so I was the oldest son. She'd talk to me, and I said, gosh, she's making so many sacrifices from, just working, sewing carpets and for Fords and stuff. And she also, like you, she was afflicted with cancer.
Oh my goodness!
When she was only 32 years old.
Yes. Okay.
Still trying to raise us kids, afflicted with breast cancer, going through treatment, and I just saw the sacrifices she made.
Now, how many children were there?
Well, there's 3 children in my family. I have a sister who's 2 years older than I am, and a brother who's 7 years younger than I am.
Okay.
Now, it's interesting. My brother and I were having a conversation recently. My sister, she was graduated from college, worked for a computer processing company. 25 years. They laid her off. She went and she got to school to get a degree in nursing. I'm an executive in television and radio for the last 25 years. And my younger brother, he works on the assembly line for Chrysler, but he's also a volunteer fireman. My brother said this to me. He said, gosh, Robert, who would have ever thought a little woman, 4'10", on the Ford assembly line would raise a nurse, an executive in TV, and a fireman? Who would have thought? And we all graduated through college. We all put ourselves through college. And we were inspired by our mother, the giving that she gave to us and the sacrifices.
Well, in my case, being that I only had the one child. Now, I always tell people all the time that raising Bio, that's his name, raising Bio was like raising 10 kids. Because he's being a boy, and he was not a bad kid. He was mischievous, but he wasn't into drugs, and he wasn't into abusiveness. He wasn't in gangs. He wasn't like that. But just the little things around how he break things get broken around the house. Bio, how'd that get broken? I don't know, Mom.
He was being a son, just a boy.
He's been a boy.
A rambunctious little boy.
But now, in terms of helping me, you talk about how you helped your mom. One of the things that my son did, because I used to always, he grew like a weed, okay? And when they get past 12, they do that growing spurt.
I know. Okay, I have 3 daughters, yeah.
So he would go out and get his little jobs, and he would try to take the burden off of me, because he'd always remind me, Mom, I'm buying my own clothes. And I'll be trying to figure out, because I stopped buying his gym shoes when he got like in the 9th grade. So he's buying his own little clothes, his own little shoes. He was very independent. I always tell my son, we're a team. Okay, I would instill, Bio, we're a team. I hit him high, you hit him low. Okay, and I stood that in him. And when he was a little boy, I would bring him into my room, I'd sit him on my bed, and I'd tell him, you know what, you are going to be somebody. You are great. I would always tell him that. You will be somebody. You will be successful. And like you said, I never talked negatively about his dad. But at the same time, he still felt very, very hurt. And I think the thing that hurt me the most was here recently. He's 32 years old. He called me on the phone. He said, Mom, and he began to cry, Robert. He began to cry, and he said, why doesn't my father love me? And I can hear him crying. He was in another state. And I'm saying, son, and I had to sit here and tell him that your father does love you. How did I do that, Robert? How did I justify telling my son that his father loves him and his father's not here?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, because although I grew up without my father, and I had wonderful role models around me.
Yes.
I actually started a relationship with my father. Now, this is ironic. When I went to graduate from high school, I shared with you a little earlier, I wanted to call him and I wanted to say, come out and see what your son did. You weren't around. I was a little angry and hurt and upset. Come out and see what your son did. You weren't around. Couldn't find him in the city of Detroit. He calls out of the blue one day and finds out, how's my son doing, says to my mother. And she says, well, he's graduating from the Army now. He's like, what about high school? She said, I already did that.
Then they've done that.
Yeah,
okay?
and so, but here's the interesting thing. Now, as an adult, I have a relationship with my father now. When he showed up, graduation day, Fort Dix, New Jersey, he and my grandmother, his mother, they showed up there. He actually wanted me to spend more time with him that day. My mom and them were there. A couple hours, I was out of there, okay? But I've had a relationship with him throughout my adult life.
Yes.
Now, knowing him has helped understand myself a little bit better, and about his relationship, and about affection and love. His 95-year-old mother, my grandmother, lives with us. She's not very affectionate. Can't say the words, I love you.
Okay.
So you have to understand they do. My father, now that I have a relationship with him as an adult, he still has some of his challenges, but he's not very affectionate. And sometimes, with your son there, he needs to know that, we love our children.
Yes.
And no matter what, we love them.
Yes.
And I had my dad one time give me a hug at a place, and it was the first time he ever really hugged his son. And he picked me up and started screaming so hard it hurt, because he didn't know what to do. He didn't get affection, and so there's that wonder. But Bayo has to know that his father does love him. He gave him the greatest gift of all, which is life.
He gave him life, yes. But when I asked my son, I said, Bayo, how do you feel about your dad? This is what he tells me, and it's so profound. He says, I don't love him, and I don't hate him. He said, I don't know him. You know what I'm saying? So how does one just detach themselves? I asked him, I said, well, if your father came on the scene right now, how would you treat him? What would you say to your dad? He'd probably say, I'd ask him, why did he leave? But I think my son was more concerned about me and my well-being, because he always tells me, Mama, I want you to remarry, get with someone that would love you. And he's not worried about me, getting with him, his father. He's more concerned about me going on with my life and doing something important with my life. And that's where I see myself right now in terms of my son, trying to be positive and making a good example for my life. But we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about the people that influenced Robert and my son and how they are doing right now. We'll be right back after the commercial break.
Do you have the right Medicare health plan? Are you saving money? And are you with a company you can rely on? The answer to your questions could be a Medicare supplement insurance plan from Humana with the benefits and savings you want. You can get all the facts in this free booklet, Making Medicare Supplement Insurance Work for You, and it's yours just by calling 1-888-238-5497.
For a competitive monthly premium, you get peace of mind knowing many of your medical costs will be covered, all from a company that's been helping people with Medicare for more than 20 years. And with a Medicare supplement plan like that offered by Humana, you always have the freedom to go to any doctor, specialist, or hospital.
The booklet is free and there's no obligation. So call now, 1-888-238-5497. That's 1-888-238-5497.
Not everyone can dunk, but everyone can dip. Checkers' new $2 Chicken Dippers box. White meat chicken deliciously seasoned, just begging to be dipped. 6 delicious dippers, plus Checkers' famous seasoned fries for an unbeatable $2. It's a slam dip. Checkers, feast on. Love loaded fries? Get them loaded 3 different ways, only at Checkers.
Every LASIK candidate deserves the best, and the Yaldo Eye Center, Michigan's leader, has performed more LASIK procedures than anyone in Michigan and always uses state-of-the-art lasers. Dr. Yaldo knows that affordability is a serious issue, and this week is offering LASIK for $6.99 an eye. Regardless of your prescription, you demand the best. That's why his patients say it's not just LASIK, it's LASIK with Dr. Yaldo. The Yaldo Eye Center. Call 1-888-881-2020.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, my guest today is Mr. Robert Moore, and we're talking about life without dad from the mother and son's perspective. Robert, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about, the people that influenced us, how we felt and things like that. I want you to share with me some of the people besides your mom who really helped mold you and make you the man you are today.
Well, it's interesting. Like I said, I've been very blessed with a lot of people that has inspired me. First and foremost is my mother. As even going in the military, I was joining it to make her proud. I was the first in our family to go back and serve our country since the Vietnam War. And so she inspired me to rise above and be a better person for her. Also, people that inspired me was, I have a Uncle Bob who inspired me by taking me to art museums, teaching me culture. But one of the things that was very important that I reflect upon and share with my wife today is that when I look at my little notes from my school years and stuff, I look at them and I would say, gosh, I would tell him, I want to be a baseball player. He would go out and get me the glove. I still have it, a Hank Aaron glove. Tell you how old it is. And he would tell me what I need to become a professional baseball player. When I wanted to be a basketball player, he bought me a basketball, and we cut up a ping pong table that was in the basement of my mom's house. Yes. That's a different story. And we hung it on the garage so I could play basketball. And he would tell me the commitment it would take. When I said to him, I want to be an astronaut, I still have the telescope he gave me and the astronomy books. So those were important. I also have another uncle, Tim, and actually he's here helping us today, who was also a mentor who helped me love music and the arts as well. When I graduated from college and got my first paying job, it was because of him. He asked me to come join him over the station where a person by the name of Martha Jean the Queen is working. It's her station, and wanted to know if I wanted to run church programs on the weekend. So I came over there. So the Queen became a tremendous influence on me, Martha Jean the Queen. I was blessed to work with her for 7 years. And so I often joke and I say, my mother raised a boy and the Queen raised a young man. She did some things that was amazing. Like in my relationship with my wife today, is Queen knew my wife when we were early on dating, and she would tell me about things such as about unconditional love. Funny story was she came to me one day and she said, you got a good paycheck this week, didn't you? I said, I sure did, Queen. And she said, good, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go home and I want you to give $300 in cash to Karen and just tell her you love her. That's it. I don't want you to tell her what to do with it or anything. I said, oh, you know, hemmed and hawed. She said, you're going to do it or you aren't, you? Queen said. I said, okay. So I went home. Gave her the $300 and didn't say, I want you to spend it on this and this and that. I did what I was supposed to do, and I said, I love you. I came back, and Queen asked me, how did it go, Robert? And I smiled and said, she chased me around the house all week, and she loved me back, too. So it was wonderful about learning about even relationship. An employer did that. The Queen did that. Now, also what the Queen did was very important for me was I had a faith, because that's an inspiration. You have to love the Lord as your Savior. And so she really helped me get back in touch with my faith and spirituality, prayer, a lot of things. And so, yeah, so there are
Uncle Bob,
Uncle
the Queen,
the Queen,
and
my mother,
and your mom, and the Lord.
Okay,
well, for me, I think that turning point in my son's life, for the most part, there were a lot of strong women around my son. Myself, I'm Superwoman. It's nothing that mommy can't do. Well, my mother, his grandmother, he loved her dearly. But I think that when men got involved, when my son went to the 10th grade, he went to Western International, and 3 coaches met me and my mother. We met us. It was the basketball coach, the track coach, and the football coach. And they promised me they were going to take care of my son. I'll never forget it. And my son was an honor student. He got awards. He became a leader. In fact, they even made up an award. He was the first recipient of the Character Award at Western International. He was the first recipient of that. And I was so proud. You know what I mean? He was from 10th, 11th, 12th grade, captain of the basketball team, track star, football player. You know what I'm saying? He excelled in basketball. He's tall, 6'2". But that was a turning point. But there was always a lot of strong women in his life, myself being the first one, and of course my mother being the other one. And then I had a lot of friends and other family members who got involved. The old adage, it takes a village to raise a child. And that is so true, because we cannot do anything without someone helping us. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel so blessed that those people, and I thank those 3 men who met me on that sunny day, it was in the fall, to let me know that they were going to watch out for my son. And they did him proud, because right now he's doing very, very well. Last year he made close to 6 figures.
Oh, good.
And
good.
And I said, why? How come you didn't give me that money? Buying presents. I said, wait a minute. What my mama?
No, I'm sure he does what my mom did. No, I would go to her at Christmas time and I would say, what do you want for Christmas? And she would come up with something. One year it was very expensive front and back screen doors. Another year she actually had said, I would like to get my eyes done, plastic surgery. And it was funny because she went to get it and she called and she says, hey, it's actually a little bit more money because I got to get the lowers done too. So I'm sure you inspired your son to excel. Just like my mother inspired me, my sister, and my younger brother to excel. And a very special moment for me was It was after her last birthday that she was with us because she has made her transition in 2008.
Okay.
So my mother, Mary Tremonti, she had called me from Florida while I was driving on I-96, and we were talking on the phone about this new digital frame I sent her with pictures loaded on it. And she was talking to me as I'm driving, and she started to cry on the phone.
Okay.
And I said, Mom, are you okay? And she said, just give me a moment. And she started crying, and she said, it's kind of hard for me to talk about, but she said that she's so proud of her kids. When she's gone, she will not have to worry about them. For my brother, myself, and my older sister.
Okay.
And we all did that. We all excelled. College, we all put ourselves to college. We all had professional careers, families, and children.
But it seems like you did very well, although you were raised without your dad. And you think, well, we're getting ready to go right now, and I really do thank you guys for joining us right now for this segment, and we'll be right back from an inspirational thought.
If you overcame great challenges in life or experienced a spiritual journey, email Dr. T Show at www.producer@drtford.com. To advertise, donate, or support this program, contact us at producer@drtford.com or mail checks and money orders payable to the Dr. Tunishai Ford Show, P.O. Box 2266, Southgate, Michigan, 48195. More information is available at drtford.com.
When you're so mad and so angry, and you've reached that overwhelming point where you have to lash out, step back and let your true feelings of love for your child overwhelm you instead. This is Malcolm Jamal Warner with the National Exchange Club. Take time out to be a better parent.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's show. As we enjoy this holiday season, I would like to encourage you to display a character of excellence by which its fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But the greatest of all these characteristics is love. You see, love alone is patient, is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, nor is it rude. Love is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrongdoing. It rejoices with the truth. Love never fails. Therefore, during this season, as we commemorate the greatest act of love, the act of giving, let's remember that love should first start with you and then allow it to spread to others. Happy holiday to all of our viewers, and as you give the perfect gift of love to your family, friends, and neighbors, remember to love yourself and be an inspiration to others as you discover your own uniqueness. God bless.